Hello. Now, this video is basically for you to see how I do some of these ratio and rate questions, and it's clearly an area of priority for us. And so what I ask you guys to do when we look at ratio and rates questions is to look at the important information and copy it. Okay? Look, underline, and copy, really. So Betty and Bertie inherit $60,000 at a ratio, or at a ratio, of 3:5. How much do they each inherit? So what's the important information here? You've got Betty and Bertie. They inherit $60,000 at a ratio of 3:5. And then how much do they each inherit? That's the important information for me. So it's basically, I like to always put Bertie is to Betty. Oops, sorry, it's Betty, I need to say. It's to Bertie. And in a ratio of 3:5. $60,000 though, in 3:5. Now who gets 60, or what do we do? Now this is one of those tricky ones, and we call these dividing in a given ratio. Because what we're doing is we're moving in groups of 8. So if I double both sides, 6 is to 10, we've got 16. If I triple both sides, we've got 9 is to 15. And we end up with 24. We need to keep on going, boingy, 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 until we get up to 60,000, and then we'll know what we do to these ones. In other words, so how do we get from 8 to 60,000? My maths would be, we need to say, well, how many lots of 8? So step 1 is 60,000 divided by 8. So what's 60,000 divided by 8? Let's whack it into the calculator. 7,500. Oops. 7,500. So if from there to there I multiply by 7,500, excuse me, how many mistakes I made? Well, what I do to one leg, I have to do the other. I have to do that one as well. So Betty would be getting 3 times $7,500, which is $22,500, and Bertie would be getting 4 times $7,500. Where did I get 3 and 4 from? Well, should I say 5? I mean to say, because from the ratio, 5 times 7,500. Is 37,500. So Betty gets $22,500. Bertie gets $37,500. How do I know that I've actually got the right answer here? Well, if I add them up, they should add up to 60,000. So 37,500 plus 22,500 equals 60,000. Boom! Now, we're running out of room, but what do I need to finish off this question? Worded question, worded answer. Betty gets 22,500 and Bertie gets $37,500. Boom, that's our answer. So let's have a look at the next one. A truck drives at 95 kilometers per hour. How far does it travel in 180 minutes? Now, this is a rate because it's per a unit of time, but it's per 1 unit of that time. So per 1 hour. 95 kilometers per 1 hour. You'll notice that it's different from the ratios because it doesn't have the colon. It's got a divide sign. So if this is per hour, well then what we need to do when we read the question, how far does it travel in 180 minutes? That's important information. But that's in minutes, and that's per hour. So our first step would be, well, how many hours are there in 180 minutes? 180 minutes divided by 60 minutes will equal how many hours? 180 divided by 60 is 3 hours. Therefore, if we travel 95 kilometres in 1 hour, then we travel 95 kilometres times by 3 in 3 hours. So what's that? In our calculator, 95 times 3, 285 kilometres in 3 hours. Worded question, worded answer. The truck travels 285 kilometres. And then the next question, well, how far does it travel in 1 minute? Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this, but I would think that we should convert 95 kilometres per hour into minutes. Now, if you think, if this is 1 hour and there are 60 minutes in an hour, well, then you would think, if this is 95 kilometres in 1 hour, you would think the distance it travels in one tiny little bit would be a heck of a lot smaller. So we would divide, and we get 95 kilometres divided by 60 . 1.583 recurring kilometres per minute. If we go 95 kilometres in an hour, well then 95 divided by 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, we'll get 1.583 kilometres a minute. So how far does it travel in 1 minute? It travels 1.583 kilometres per minute. Sorry for the mistakes, but